Hi breathers! Welcome to What is Pranayama? In this video, you'll not only learn the definition of pranayama, but a little bit more about the theory and philosophy behind it. Plus, at the end of this video, we'll do a pranayama practice together. So let's start with the definition. If you are completely new to the term, you've never heard the word pranayama before, it is a limb or branch of many lineages of yoga that is using breathing techniques to prepare the mind for meditation. So just as many of the physical postures, the asanas that you see people doing, that is meant to prepare the body for pranayama because it's very hard to sit for a very long time. And in traditional pranayama, we stay seated the entire time with all of our focus and attention and awareness on our breath and our breathing pattern. And you might want to have maybe looser, more stable hips and pelvis, maybe a little bit more strength through your core, the front and the back to stabilize the spine, a little bit more awareness of alignment of the backbone and being able to relax through shoulders, the neck, all these different kinds of things. So the body, using asana and those physical postures to prepare the body, and it's comfortable enough to stay seated because we stay seated in traditional pranayama so that we are not putting a lot of tension or restriction or blocking the movement of the cerebral spinal fluid moving up and down the back. Now you can do a lot of these practices, pranayams, when you're laying down, but ideally you would like to have prepared your body so you can sit comfortably and completely just focus on the breath. So you never get that little cue of like, oh, my foot's asleep or my hip hurts or my low back is cranky. We really finesse the body through asana to be able to come to a seat and focus on the breath for pranayama. And then once you learn how to extend the breath and control the breath and refine the breath and feel and explore and experiment with the breath enough that you're able to really just focus on that, you are kind of just the same way you're stretching and strengthening the body to sit in pranayama, you're stretching and strengthening the brain and the mind to prepare for meditation. So if you've ever tried meditation and you found it really difficult, very boring, or maybe just totally confusing, like, am I doing it right? Is this what it's supposed to feel like? I highly suggest that you try some breathing techniques or pranayama to kind of get you a little bit more familiarized with what state the mind and brain should be in, or optimally could be in, to then move into segue into meditation. To get into the translation of the term pranayama, again, many people interpret it in different ways and different lineages have different definitions, but ultimately you can really define it as life extension. So we are thinking of the term prana as a life force, as that spark, that electricity, that signal that your heart has that is keeping you alive and keeping your heart beating. It is that gross prana, which is the food you eat, which is supplying your body with fuel and nutrients and all the necessary building blocks to keep your body moving and stay alive. And another gross prana as the air, the oxygen in the atmosphere that you're using to supply all of your cells with fuel necessary for cellular respiration. So it's prana is that life, it's just that tangibility, or you can also get into subtle prana when we get into like energy and emotions and thoughts and feelings and behaviors and that kind of thing. But prana as life force, but life itself. Ayama or yama, you can think of as extension, and we find extension through control. So the idea behind that is that if you can control your breath, then you can start to slow it down and extend it. And then if you can extend your breath, you can extend your life. And you can think of this kind of like as a car. So if you're driving a car and you're putting a lot of miles on it and you're driving a lot, that car probably isn't going to last very long. But if you buy the same car at the same time and you drive it a lot slower, you drive it more mindfully, you drive it less often, that car will probably last a little bit longer. And the same theory goes behind your body as a vehicle, because your heart and your lungs are like those main engines of your body, and your heart and your lungs are best friends and business partners. So your heart's job is to take the oxygen molecules and circulate them through the entire system of the body and supply all of those cells that need those oxygen molecules. And if you are breathing a lot or breathing fast, your heart has to beat that fast and that often to keep supplying all that oxygen and remove the carbon dioxide. But if you breathe slower and you breathe less often, you extend the scope of your breath, then your heart will beat slower and it will beat less often. And technically you're putting less miles on your body and you hopefully will live longer. So that's the idea and the theory behind the term pranayama as life extension. If you're a little more interested in the techniques themselves, there are so many different ones and so many different variables and nuances that you can tie into them. But the idea of pranayama as a practice versus, like freediving techniques or breathwork techniques or all these other different breath philosophies is that pranayama as a whole is about sustainability. It's about maintenance. It's about refinement and capability to strongly build a foundation, and a foundation that's so solid that once you start to get to the more advanced techniques, or we call them pranayams, so pranayama being the umbrella blanket term of the theory, the philosophy, all of the practices, and a single breathing technique as a pranayam, when you get to those more advanced ones, you'll have really refined your sense of understanding and feeling and practice to where that has a lot more meaning and it's just a lot more advanced. So we go slower and we take a lot more time and we really start with foundational easy practices of pranayams so that when you expand and you advance, it's like a solid advancement rather than, kind of missing some things. So when you're doing different pranayams, a lot of times people can say or have heard that different breathing techniques or pranayams are dangerous, and that is absolutely true. I know that it might seem that breathing is something you're doing right now all day ever since you've been alive, and that you will hopefully continue to do for a lot longer, but it can be very dangerous, especially if you have certain conditions. So when you begin your pranayama practice or any breathing practice, that you have someone who has been doing this for a while, that you have an experienced professional or practitioner who can kind of guide you and help you understand not only where you should begin, how long you should be doing those practices, what you should stay away from, and when it's really a good time to start to advance. So when we get into the different theories and philosophies of pranayama, there are things that you'll find intertwined with the more subtle aspects of prana. So, if you came in and you were very, very angry and you just were having one of those rage kind of percolations in your body, you can't measure that like I could measure your heart or measure your brain and like an EKG or an EEG where we can see the electricity, we can see that bioelectromagnetic field of what energy the heart, the brain, similar organs are producing. You can't take an X-ray of your anger. You can't take an MRI of your depression or your grief or your sadness or your excitement and your joy. But pranayama is able to use these different pranayams so that we're refining our awareness and our understanding. And we use the breath as the barometer, right? We're measuring, like, how are we feeling? How are we thinking? What's going on tangibly with that gross prana, the injury or the circulation itself? And not only is the breath become the barometer, the one that's going to measure what's going on, but it's also going to become the tool, the solution, the medicine that can be prescribed. Like if you're having a panic attack and you don't want to be having a panic attack, you can feel that and see that and then use a particular pranayam to bring yourself out into a more calm state. Or, if you're feeling depressed, to bring yourself more into an energetic, kind of open and exploratory state. So I hope that that has explained a little bit about the ideas of pranayama. Now, mind you, it is a very deep rabbit hole. It goes very deep. If you want to learn more, we have a lot of resources over at Breath Guidance, tons of free resources and really great, amazing trainings and programs that will help guide you through all different kinds of breathing techniques, not just pranayama, but many other breathing techniques that are, spread across many different breath philosophies. Head over to breathguidance.com if you want to learn more. But if you would like to just do a little practice now together, we'll do a really simple practice practice of what's known as Chandra Badana. This is a pranayama, and what we're going to be doing is breathing in through the left nostril and breathing out from the right nostril. At the top of the breath, we're going to just pinch the nose and hold it closed for a little bit. But when you get into the subtle philosophy of pranayama, we talk about how different nostrils assimilate to different nadis, different chakras, different states of energy, different characteristics of the body. Again, we go much deeper into all of that in our breath technique training, which is our signature training. But basically, you can think of the left nostril as something that is going to bring you a little bit more relaxation, bring you a little bit more clarity in a smooth type of way, where the right nostril is something that is going to bring you a little bit more energy, a little bit more heightened, scope of focus. So what we're going to do is breathe in the left, pause, breathe out the right. Now, if you really wanted to get really calm, you could be breathing in and out through the left. But when we use pranayama, again, it's important to be able to measure where you are at on the energetic spectrum to know, so you don't, push yourself too far over to one edge. We're always looking for balance here. So what you're going to do is take your left hand, and as you take your left hand, we're not going to take a traditional mudra. We're just going to take one where you use your thumb and your pointer finger, and you're going to hover it over your nostrils. Now, as you do this, you're going to close your right nostril, blow a little bit of air out of the left, and then breathe right back in through left. Once that breath is full, pinch the nose, hold it closed for 3, 2, 1. Let it out from the right side. Switch. Inhale left. Close and pause. 3, 2, 1. Let it out from the right. And one more round, in through left. Pause. Out from right. Breathe back in through left. Hold the breath in, but release your hand. And then breathe out from both sides of the nose. Breathe back in through nose. And out from nose. Last breath, breathe in through nose. Purse the lips, empty it out. Really good. Now again, that's called Chandra Badana. You can do that anytime you just want to relax a little bit more, become a little bit more clear and soften, and just a little bit more of a gentle energy or attitude. If you have any questions whatsoever, please pop them down in the comments below. I'd be happy to answer them as best as I can. And if you're interested in learning about your breath, again, head over to breathguidance.com. Tons of free resources, tons of awesome programs and trainings. Lastly, if you liked this video, please hit the thumbs up. And if you really like this video and you want to learn more, hit the subscribe button. Help support us on our mission to spread and share more tips, info, and theories about breath. I'm Danny May. I sincerely appreciate you watching this video and being invested in your breath. I will talk to you and see you soon. Bye.